Hey guys, welcome to our weekly Friday video, and sometimes we have a bonus video on Tuesday, but today we are checking out the cheapest DDR3 motherboard that you can buy from AliExpress. The motherboard can be had for as little as $29 including free shipping, and it's a great board for a budget gaming PC. The parts we're using today, the motherboard, the quad-core CPU and 8GB of RAM cost only around $90 and the performance is surprisingly good. And here's the motherboard. This is a micro ADX board from Asus. The model number is P5G41T. Now this board comes in various versions with slightly different model numbers such as LX, V2, LX2 or LX3. The board I have and the board that we're going to use in this video is the LX3 version. Now in terms of performance there won't be any difference, but there might be differences in terms of board layout. Here for example we have the regular LX motherboard and we can see this one has two PCI slots instead of having two PCI Express 1X slots. So the motherboard is micro ADX and for socket 775. We have two RAM slots just like in the previous video where we looked at a DDR2 motherboard, but because of DDR3 we can use 4GB modules for a total capacity of 8GB of RAM. This motherboard has the Intel G41 chipset which has onboard graphics, but of course for gaming we're going to use a dedicated video card. We have 4 SATA 2 ports with 3 gigabits per second and also 2 USB headers on the motherboard. At the back we have 2 PS2, serial VGA, 4 USB 2.0, gigabit Ethernet and audio. I had a look at the supported processors and pretty much the best option is the Q9650. Unfortunately, this processor is still quite in demand and you're looking at around $40 to $50 on the used market. So the processor I recommend going with instead is the E4550. This is a Xeon processor. In terms of specifications, it is identical to the Q9650, but it's a lot cheaper, only around $22 or so, and it has a lower TDP of only 80 watts. The processor will come pre-modded. The only thing we need to do is mod the motherboard BIOS to support the Xeon microcode. Because we are on a budget, we're going to use an Intel boxed cooler. Now the only thing you need to look out for is to make sure you get one with a copper core, but this job did a brilliant job at cooling the processor and you will see the temperatures later when we check out some games. And here we have the other parts used in this build. Radeon RX 570, 8GB of DDR3 memory, a 600 watt power supply, an SSD, a hard drive and also a sound card. I will have a look if I find any links for these parts and put them down below in the description. Before we can use the Xeon processor, we have to modify the BIOS. For this I used a Celeron 3500 just to be able to boot the machine. Then you go to the Asus website and grab the latest BIOS file. The injection of the microcode is pretty straightforward. I will put a link down below to a tutorial, and after I've done that I flashed the BIOS, swapped out the processor for the Xeon and everything gets detected just fine. I always load the BIOS default and the settings worked great. The only thing I had to change was the RAM speed. It defaulted to 1066 MHz, so I changed this to 1333 and it defaults to the standard 99924 timings. The BIOS also has a few options for overclocking. For example, you can raise the frontside bus and there are also options to raise the CPU and RAM voltage. But this is a budget board, so to be honest, I don't really recommend doing too much of an overclocking, but you can definitely get a little bit more performance out of this board if that's what you want. Okay, let's have a look at some quick benchmarks. We've got CloudGate 12,903, Skydiver 15,703, and in Firestrike we're getting 8,289. We also have Cinebench, 332 is the score, and I also tested the power consumption under idle sitting on the desktop. We're getting 91 watts, and under load running Cinebench 133 watts. And now we're going to have a look at some games, and this time we have a wide range of games. I will put some information about the game and the settings down below in the video.
You ain't getting it back.
Did he know they eat the living as well?
No. Really upset him too. His theory collapsed.
War's not exactly going our way.
We have a side.
The Northern Realms.
Radovid's realms, don't you mean? Temeria and Edirn are no more.
Resource collected. Press tab to view your inventory and fleet status screen.
I need backup!
It appears as if you're ready for the next stage. I have created...
Right 5. And right 4, post outside, 60. Left 5, 60. Right 4 through Denver. Keep middle over crest. Left 5. Left 6, don't cut. And left 4 long, 130. 110 over bumps.
Buy in 20 seconds and get full refund. Don't want restock.
I found her that way!
My daddy's smarter than Einstein, struggled in Hercules, and lights a fire with a snap of his finger. Aren't you as good as my daddy, mister? Not if you don't visit the Gatherer's Garden, you...
So what's the verdict on this $29 motherboard from AliExpress? Well, it has more ports than pretty much all Apple products combined, and if you have a half decent video card, you will get better FPS than on consoles. The processor is cheap, 8GB of DDR3 memory is cheap, so are solid state drives, and video cards are also affordable again, so this is a really good time to put together a cheap budget gaming machine using DDR3 memory. All the games we tested today are definitely playable. Even 2018 titles like Shadow of the Tomb Raider, Strange Brigade or Star Control Origins run just fine on this computer. It also works great as a daily driver, no issues with browsing the internet, creating documents with Office or watching movies on YouTube or Netflix. With a dual slot graphics card, you still have a PCI Express 1X and a PCI slot available, so you could, for example, upgrade a sound card or a USB 3.0 controller. What do you think of this motherboard and Socket 775 in general? I know this platform is getting old and many YouTubers have given up on it, but it's the low price and the value that I find most appealing. Do share your thoughts down below in the video description. I will see you next week with our weekly Friday video, but keep an eye out for Tuesday. Sometimes there will be a bonus video. And that's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Give it a like and click on that notification bell, and I shall see you soon with another one.